ladies and gentlemen, and I am sitting here with the multi-talented, multifaceted Keema Mingo,
Hey
prolific
there.
content creator, filmmaker, and all that other good stuff. So, how are you? How are you? How are you?
I am amazing and tired and exhausted because I'm getting ready for my premiere next week. But this is a welcome break from all of the editing and promoting and all that. So thank you. I appreciate being here.
Awesome. I am so glad that you are here. Clubhouse is such an amazing app. I am not a paid a spokesperson for Clubhouse, but I must say that Clubhouse is a phenomenal app because I am meeting some absolutely amazing people on that app. And this is actually where I met Miss Keema. And we have been in multiple rooms together where we've actually listened and shared our filmmaking knowledge. I won't say for my part vast, but I'll just say my filmmaking knowledge because, I'm a student as well as a teacher sometimes. But let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Floyd Marshall, and this is a conversation with Keema Mingo. So, Miss Mingo, before we get into your premiere, tell us how you got started in this illustrious business called filmmaking.
Yes, I actually started my career in broadcast television.
Okay.
And so I have a mass communications degree from Norfolk State University. So I'm a Spartan.
Okay.
And I was blessed to actually have my first job at the end of my senior year. So before I graduated, I was working at Wavy TV 10, broadcast station there, started out in production, learned a lot behind the scenes working in live television, ended up leaving there and going to a PBS affiliate. So I worked for an NBC affiliate first, went to a PBS affiliate, and that's where I learned how to produce a show. And those two entities are extremely different. Like they're on the ends of two different ends of a spectrum
Mm-hmm.
because with broadcast news, it is live. We did, I think, 6 live shows a day. But then I go to public TV, I did 1 half-hour recorded show a week. So I really had to shift how I conducted my business and how I, worked on shows. But both of them prepared me for film. And so after working at the PBS affiliate for 2.5 years, I got laid off, could not get back into television. I couldn't pay people to put me back in TV. I was overqualified for some, not qualified enough for others. Some were saying they couldn't pay me what I wanted, even if I would take a pay cut. So I ended up going to retail. And I worked retail because at that point, I had 2 children. They were young and, you got to pay the bills. And
Absolutely.
so, that was back home in Virginia. And that retail job led me here to Charlotte. I was able to transfer that job. And my fiance then, husband now, he and I moved here with the kids and worked in retail for a while, still could not get back into TV, couldn't get back into radio, even though I had worked in radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided, because at that point I had a master's degree. So before I moved, I got my master's in film while I was at the first television station. And just no one would hire me. So I was like, you know what? I know how to do this. I have degrees in it. I've worked in this field almost 10 years. So I am going to buy 2 cameras. And so that's what we did. He bought me 2 cameras. I have my Mac laptop. And I started shooting videos and doing things for other people because nobody in the industry would hire me again. I eventually left retail and ended up teaching at a university because I do have a master's in film. So I taught film classes. And from there, that was my last job where I punched a clock for somebody. And that particular job fired me, which was the best thing that could ever happen back in 2015. And I had already been writing, doing videos and all that. And at that point, I became a full-time filmmaker and I haven't turned back.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
so basically, the universe was pushing you to where you should have been all along. And isn't it interesting how that works out? That sometimes we often fight the very thing that we should be doing. And sometimes you have to get a nudge or a shove or an actual kick to actually move, as they say, in your purpose.
You're absolutely correct. So that's not the first time I had gotten fired. I've actually, if I think about it, I've been fired, I think, from 4 jobs
Mm.
because I'm very loyal. So when I work somewhere, I'm there and I give 1,000%, even if it's not something that I enjoy. I mean, I've sold things like jewelry and mops and stuff, like bouncing from store to store, working on commission. And because I'm the type of person that stays, yes, God puts a foot in my back and kicks me out. So the first television job I had, I got fired from that. And then I got fired from a couple jobs here in Charlotte, including the university job that I had. And it's funny because when I was working at that university, my students would tell me, Miss Mingo, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
You are just way too talented. You are too much for these people. Like, the administration tried to do everything they could to stifle my voice and prevent me from really teaching my students how it is in this business.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the kick that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad that they fired me there as well, because I have not looked back at all. I have not.
That's amazing. So on multiple occasions, someone was telling you, Keema, go be a filmmaker. Keema, go be a filmmaker. No, you know what? I have this great job. I have benefits. I got kids.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
look, I love being a content creator, but when the mortgage book comes in the mail, you got to figure out how you're going to pay that. And it's so funny because I remember my story's a little different from yours. I had a full-time job. Oh gosh, how long ago was this? It was a number of years ago, and I had a full-time job, and I actually went to the American Black Film Festival. And Bill Duke was teaching his boot camp class, his actors boot camp class, because at that point in time I was acting and, still working a full-time job as I am now. And I went to that class, and in the workshop, Bill Duke said, if you want to be in a film, then go make one. And I said, light bulb. So I got on a plane, flew back to Philadelphia, came home, sat down with my wife, and I said, I'm starting a film company. And she said, how are you going to do that? You have absolutely no idea how to make films. I said, well, I'll surround myself with people that do. To make a long story short, because this interview is about you and not about me, but to make a long story short, she actually got a couple of gray hairs because she just knew that I was going to leave a very well-paying job. But my kids were small. And, with me, I've been able, because my job is very flexible, so I've been able to do what I love and still, be able to have my 9 to 5, which pays, again, very well, and the benefits are phenomenal. So I had to kind of put her mind at ease, like, no, I'm not going anywhere because I'm at the age where I have 2 more years and I retire. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can do whatever I want. But back to you. Back to you. So did you always have the content creator bug when you were younger, or is this something that you developed over time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Yep. I won my first writing contest when I was in the 4th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had a school-wide contest, and, we got to submit, those who wanted to submit, and I won the 4th grade one.
Oh, wow.
So I got to go and read to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders my story. And I knew then I would be in the industry. I knew then I would be a writer.
Right.
But I was also that kid that would memorize the commercials.
Okay.
I was that annoying kid and loved to watch television, loved reading. Like, I was a voracious reader and just loved the act of storytelling and the art of storytelling. So to me, it's a natural thing for me to be in this space doing what I do as a writer. And as a director, it comes easy.
Okay.
And easy meaning the stories come easy, but it's not always easy like getting them out. So I don't want to, make people think that I just magically just produce all these stories. No, sometimes I don't write for months.
Really?
Because that's just, I just don't have anything to say.
And you know what? That's the way it is sometimes. Sometimes things are in your head so much that you wake up in the middle of the night. And it's why I hate waking up in the middle of the night, because I know if I wake up in the middle of the night, it's all going to come rushing in.
Yes.
So sometimes, it's overwhelming. And then other times it's like the Mojave Desert and you're just dry and there's absolutely nothing there. And you're sitting there saying to yourself, well, okay, well, what's going on? I don't have any ideas. And then as soon as you say something like that, a couple of hours later, here it comes.
Here it comes.
Creators are funny that way.
We are.
Way. So
We're interesting. Yes, we are.
yes we are, and I'm a Gemini, so I'm even more interesting. But so
So is my son. He's a Gemini too.
so you know what? I knew it was something. See, we vibing. I knew it was
But see,
something
I'm a
about.
Libra, so we both have
Okay,
those two sides. Yes, yes, yes.
that's interesting because my daughter is a Libra.
Okay.
That is so funny.
Yes, that means that she is the bomb.
She,
Yes,
you
she
know what?
is.
And it's so funny because she's a creative herself. She does vlogging. She's very creative. She's
Hmm.
just and actually she graduated from Temple School of Media. Yeah, so that's she got it on
Wonderful.
she got it honest. She got it honest.
Yeah.
Back to you because this is I'm telling people more about me than I'm talking about. This is about you. So you've always written. Have you ever been in front of the camera? Did you ever decide that you wanted to do any acting, or were you just a person you said, I'm going to create for other people?
Well, I've been in front of the camera just a couple of times,
Hmm.
like hosting a talk show and different things like that. I
Okay.
have used my voice because I worked in radio
Okay.
for a while. So I hosted a radio show and I actually did the traffic on the radio too, which was really fun. So people would recognize my voice. I would go into the grocery store and people would be like, "Do I know you?" And I'm like, I'd be like, "No, I do the traffic on the radio. You just heard me a few minutes ago." "Oh, that's where I've heard your voice before." But no, I haven't gotten in front of the camera with my scripted things. And someone just asked me that a couple of days ago. So I think I'm going to have to Spike Lee it, and I'm gonna have to like
Okay.
write myself in there just a little bit because I see a lot of other people doing it, which I think is awesome. It's a lot of fun. So I may be the chick in the background sitting at the bar. I don't know if I have any speaking lines at this point.
You know what? Hey, why not? My friend Tiffany Yancey, who I've kind of come up through the ranks with, she just wrote a film that was on BET, Holiday Heartbreak.
Yes.
Yeah, that's her film.
Hmm.
That's her film.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Awesome,
I
Tiffany.
just yeah,
Yes.
I just interviewed her a couple of weeks ago, but she actually was pressed into service because someone else dropped out. So the director was
Hmm.
like, "Hey, go home, put on a skirt, get your hair done, come on back, and you got to walk looking sexy." But yeah, that's fun because when I used to actually shoot, sometimes I would just play an extra and I would just be sitting in a chair, looking like a well near to do. But it gives you a different perspective, even though it's your production. It gives you a
Hmm.
different perspective because you're on the other side of the camera and you kind of get to see how things work from that side. Even though you're there
Yes.
during doing the productions, it just has a different feel when someone's yelling action and you actually have to actually do something.
Absolutely. I do respect actors, and I have taken an acting class before, and it can be very intimidating. It requires you to be extremely vulnerable,
Yes.
which I think every director should take an acting class because I think they need to understand what they're asking of these individuals. And once we understand that, then we can speak their language. I
Hmm.
can be more effective when I'm talking with them and asking them to do something as opposed to saying, just be more or give me a little less.
Hmm.
That's very hard to decipher. But if I tell them, okay, in this moment, you're extremely vulnerable,
Hmm.
you are afraid, or your goal is to get out this room. So you're going to do whatever it takes to get out this room.
Right.
They can now process that. But if I'm just like, okay, do it again, but just bigger.
Right.
Okay, do you mean bigger eyes, bigger motions? Is my voice supposed to be louder? And I think that's just a disservice that we do when we're behind the camera and we're speaking to actors and we don't understand their language.
And,
So I honor them. Yes.
yeah, and that's a very good point because on Clubhouse, we were in a room a couple of weeks ago and we were talking about that. And one of the things that I said to, the people in the room with, different skill sets, one of the things that I said to them was, if you're this, then you need to be studying that. If you're that, you need to be studying this. And,
Mm.
what you just said is so on point because as a director, if you take acting classes and you read books on acting, when you go to give that direction, you're both speaking the same language because you now understand what that actor's mindset is, where they're actually coming from. And actors should also study directing because if a director says something to you or throws a phrase out or tells you to stand on that particular mark over there, you're not wondering why that director did that. You kind of have an idea of why they did that because you know what type of shot they're looking for. You know what type of look they're going after. So it's it's educational. You know,
Yes,
you should know every aspect of a film set. You
I
really
agree.
should.
I agree. And I think that's important for actors to understand cinematography and directing because there will be times where we will say, okay, now we will tell them, now I'm in an extreme close up. So you really can't move or you're going to break the frame.
Right.
And so all the intention needs to be in your eyes and in your eyebrows and, you know, the way that you do whatever it is that you do with your mouth. And sometimes some actors can't translate that. They can't process it and translate it. They feel like, okay, well, I'm angry, so my head needs to be bobbing all over the place. Not understanding that with the camera being so close in your face, with the shot being so
Right.
close, that you don't even have the physical space within the frame to do that. And understand that the intensity now needs to come from your performance and not from the antics that you believe needs
Hmm.
to come with the performance. So yes, you know, actors definitely should understand shots and blocking and staging. Now, I am the type of director where I'll take a picture of the viewfinder. I'll take a picture of the frame so then they can see it. So I'm
Mm.
like, I know this feels weird. You're leaning and you got your head cocked, you know, in a weird way, but this is what we're getting.
Hmm.
And so when I show them, they're like, oh, okay, this is hot. And I understand. So no, you can't move. Say everything, still have the intention that I want you to have in your face. But if we can pull this off, this is going to be a very impactful shot. And so I did that with my web series pilot where I had the two actresses that they were in a bathroom and the shot, the way that we framed it, I could see one actress's face reflected in the mirror
Hmm.
and the other's actress's face was facing the camera. And so you could see two of them in the mirror, two of them in the camera. But in the
Mm.
mirror, I could see the girl whose back is to us.
Wow.
And then the other one was facing us. And they felt really weird because they had to like move their necks a particular way. And it was one friend actually calling the other friend to the carpet and checking her. And, you know, what they did was they used their expressions, they used their volume,
Hmm.
they would whisper some things and say some other things, you know, with a little more snippiness, a little more, you know, nastiness and whatnot, because they just couldn't move. And
Right.
it is a beautiful, very effective shot. It worked. And when I showed them the picture, they were like, wow, it looks really good. So that's the type of director that I am. You know,
Mm.
I want to show you what we see so that you understand why you've got to do it this way.
Right. Economy of movement. When I was being taught by a phenomenal coach, Darren Bevel, he called it economy of movement. And when I really started studying film and watching actors on television, if you notice, they really don't move a lot
No.
because when you move a lot, it's exaggerated on camera. It's amazing. The camera adds 10 pounds, but it also exaggerates the heck out of your movements.
Yes.
And I remember doing, when I first started acting, and I got an acting coach, Drusy McDaniel. She's absolutely phenomenal. She said, go home, watch television, and tape a commercial. Watch television and get a commercial off of a TV and then do a tape. So I did Zantac. And when I took that to class and looked at it, you would have thought that someone had given me a cocktail of methamphetamines and LSD and some uppers and some downers because my facial expressions, they were everywhere. And my wife, for years, it was a VHS tape, and she would look at it and she would just crack up because it looked so crazy. But
Right.
not knowing, and see, actors need to learn not knowing how to not move.
It's just as much of an art
Right.
as it is to learn to
Yes.
act for the camera. A lot of actors who start in theater are used to having to do big, big movements,
Right.
which I understand because you got to perform for person in seat 300.
Yes, you have to emote to
I
the back of the
get it.
room.
Yes, and everyone needs to have that same experience
Hmm.
because, you know, with theater, you've got your three walls and the audience is sitting in the fourth wall.
Right.
But when it comes to what we do in film, we have the capability of moving the camera wherever we want. We can move into 360 space. And there are awesome things that we can do that you can't do with theater. And so a lot of actors who transition from theater to film struggle with the movements. Okay, you're a little too loud because your microphone is right here, or the boom is right above your head. You don't have to yell.
Right.
And like you said, the antics need to be smaller. You don't have to move your hands as much. Don't make your eyes so bugged because we can see you. We're right here. So you're absolutely right. There's a strategy behind it as well. Now, I will tell you this. I love my theater actors because they come from a live setting, just like I do. Coming from television news has taught me to just get it right the first time and have a backup plan to the backup plan.
Right.
I'm always problem solving because that's what you have to do when you're in a live broadcast. So the same thing with theater actors. So when they come to set, all the lines are memorized. If I say, do this, touch this, and then that's when you leave the room, they do it every single time for continuity. They are perfect, almost perfect with the continuity because they understand in theater, if I don't say this word, that light doesn't come on.
Right.
If I don't hit this point, that actor doesn't come out because they're waiting for me to do my part.
Absolutely.
So they can do their part. So that's the advantage of those who are theater actors moving into film. They've got that beautiful foundation of understanding blocking and staging and having those lines memorized to a T. Not I skimmed it and got the gist of it. They know every word. So then all they have to do is now take the classes so you can learn how to act for the camera. And that's what kind of gives them an edge sometimes over those rely on the retake. These people, they just want to get it right the first time. We got one take. Okay, great. I got you.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. Being a director, having the day planned out, and your actor or actors come to the set and they ain't off book. Now, as someone who has produced but not directed, because I have a director who directed everything that I ever wrote. But as the one who was producing and writing the checks and knowing that we only have this space for a certain amount of time.
Yes.
So what was that like?
I have not really experienced that. And this is why. This is why. Because during the audition process, I use my Shonda Rhimes quote because I believe that I am a Shonda Rhimes type of writer. Mm-hmm. That's how I tell people when I describe my writing, I tell them I'm more of a Shonda Rhimes type of situation. So then they're like, oh, okay. So they're like, okay, I can put that in perspective. Mm-hmm. So I just tell them what Shonda Rhimes said. The script is not a suggestion.
Ooh.
You need to memorize the script because I strategically, now as a writer, I don't have diarrhea of dialogue like some writers do. Mm-hmm. Every word that my characters say means something. Mm-hmm. So if someone says something or adds something, it could literally affect the next scene, or it can affect, something that happens at the end, or even the next episode of a series. And I don't want that to happen. So I tell them, you have to memorize the script as is. And if they miss a word or add a word, we go back. And the script supervisor's like, okay, they added a word. Okay, so it is XYZ
Okay.
And you said QRSTUV XY, or whatever the case is. So, and then I will have them do it again. Because every word means something. Mm-hmm. So I'm just not the type that goes and just like, okay, well, just get the gist and people will get it. Because I can tell sometimes when actors are ad-libbing because they tend to just say too much mm-hmm. and they take a long time to get to the point. And dialogue in films are not normal conversations.
Right.
We start in the middle of a thought. People don't complete their sentences. Things are said in a manner where in real life you may repeat it 3 times and don't notice it. Mm-hmm. But you really can't do that when it comes to scripted content.
Right.
It's going to be noticeable. A bunch of ums and ahs and you're going around the block and salutations and all these other things that are just extra noise that is not necessary and does not move the story forward. I don't write those things unless it's absolutely necessary for the story. So I have not experienced that. I think if I were to experience it, then I would have to remind the actor that every word has a purpose and their job is to give those words because dialogue for the character is their weapon. That's what they're using in those scenes to win the argument, mm-hmm. to get out of the room, to make the proposal, to get what they want. So if you're adding a whole bunch of stuff, that's going to water down the power of your weapon. And so I don't want that.
You know what? That's very interesting, and that's like wow. I never looked at it that way because when I wrote, I was a little different. I wasn't as married to my scripts because my thing was I just need you to get the point across. So if there's a word, and I remember a situation where I was on set and a group of actors, phenomenal guys, and they're actually good friends of mine. They were actually doing a scene, and when we finished the take, they all looked at me and said they wouldn't talk like that. They said they wouldn't talk like that. So I looked at the director, who's also a good friend. I said, "Well, let's discuss this." And I said, "Well, how would they talk?" And we had a conversation, and they were saying because it doesn't feel natural to us what they were saying. So when they basically told us how they would talk, it actually stayed within the lines of what we were doing. It didn't go south. So my thing was I need you guys to be as authentic as possible. And if you're saying the lines but you're not really feeling the lines, that's going to come across because what then is happening is people are like looking at the camera and say, now they're acting.
Mm-hmm.
They're acting. And I don't want you guys to, we're actors, but I don't want you to act. But even more so, what you said struck me because I was reading something the other day and I can't remember who said this, but they were in a class and the person that was, no, the gentleman was actually a script reader. And he said, people don't know how to read scripts. And he said, well, why is that? And no, it was a woman. And she said, because every scene is a transaction. And I had
Yes.
never heard that before. They said every scene is a transaction. It's a transaction with you are trying to get something out of someone or someone is trying to get something out of you. And when I read that, it was actually The Writer's Journey by Mr. Vogler, Christopher Vogler.
Mm-hmm.
It was in that book. And I said, wow. And he said when she told him that, it totally changed his perspective on how he looked at how scripts were written. Because he was like, you know what? She's absolutely right. Everything's, and she broke it down. And he said, going
Yes.
forward, that's how he started looking at scripts. And that's basically what you just described, that it's not a
Yes.
suggestion.
Right. It's not a suggestion. So if a script is well written,
Mm-hmm.
there are intentions in every single scene. And like she said, there's something, now I say it a little different. There's something that somebody wants. So somebody wants something, somebody's trying to prevent somebody from getting it. There is this tug of war, which is why I said the words are weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And the words that the characters say is either to get what they want or to stop somebody from getting what they want.
Right.
So if an actor comes in and starts saying what they want and it's not what the character would want to say, then the intention is off. It is what John Doe wants and not what the character, Jeremy, wants. And it's not about what the actor thinks. It's about how the character is written and what it is that their intention is in the scenes. And so I will ask my actors, what is your intention? What is it that you as the character want in this scene? Okay, I want to get out of this room because I want to leave this relationship. Okay, other person, what is your intention in this scene? I want to solidify this relationship and I want to ask this person to marry me. Now that we are clear on what we want, your words are the weapons for you to win this tug of war.
Mm-hmm.
And when an actor understands that, then they will now speak those words with such conviction that you will believe that it's them. But if it's a poorly written script, I mean, it's like trying to build a house on sand. Mm-hmm. You can only do it so much. So if and what you mentioned earlier about your friends saying the characters wouldn't say that, what they were speaking to is that the characters were presented in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in the beginning of the film or, you know, in earlier scenes. And then something changed in the way that their words and intentions were later on, which wasn't authentic to the character. So I understand why they made that suggestion. But it wasn't because they wanted to go in and say what they wanted to say. They were saying, now based upon what you've already written, this person is very intimidated. This person is fearful. And now all of a sudden they're just the superhero in this one scene.
Right.
That's not true to character. That doesn't make sense. And that's where I can understand where an actor will speak up and say, it's not authentic and true to their character. And so in order for it to be effective, it should be this way, or can we tweak it and do thus and so? Because the audience is going to look at it and be like, now this is this little Tiny Tim type of grasshopper. And now all of a sudden he's, you know, a superhero.
Yeah, you Arnold Schwarzenegger all of a sudden.
right. Muscles coming out your throat.
Right.
This is not going to work.
Right.
That's not who you are. So no, it makes perfect sense what you're saying. But yes, when a script is well written, those words are absolutely weapons. They are full of intention. They're authentic to that person being character. And everybody's trying to get something, or somebody's trying to prevent somebody from getting something. And if the scene doesn't do that, you need to kill it and get rid of it.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. So, your new project that you have coming up, what's going on with that? Tell us about that.
Okay, so my film, I've written a short rom-com. Now, I wrote it back in 2016.
Okay.
Because I wanted to challenge myself. Now, I have a tendency to write scripts that have like 10 characters and we're in 8 different locations and it's just a bunch of people. And I said, okay, if I'm such a great writer, can I write something in one room with 2 people and have a very effective story? And so that's what I did. I wrote this rom-com. It's called First. And it's about those awkward moments a couple endures right before they have their first sexual encounter with each other. And it is a trauma-free Black love story. So it's not about, you know, struggle and drugs and racism and slavery and all that. It is truly for the laughs, because I wanted to do something where it's just lighthearted. And again, I wrote this in 2016, pre-pandemic.
Okay.
And when the pandemic hit, and I was like, this is perfect because I can do this with a very small crew. I only have 2 actors. So we shot it August 2020. I had 9 other people. So it was like a 10-person crew plus 2 actors. So it was 12 of us on set. We were COVID safe. And we just had an amazing time. So I am premiering it Valentine's Day weekend, which is awesome. So it's perfect. Valentine's, Galentine's, or singles weekend, whatever people want to call it, according to their, you know, status, relationship status. But so I'm doing 2 private viewings. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite if you just look up online private event First, or you can go to my social media. It's all over my Instagram and all over my Facebook, and you can get your tickets. And so what we're going to do is watch the film and then do a Q&A afterward. And it's just going to be an awesome event. And even a part of the film, we have bloopers at the end because people always love to see the mistakes and see how we work things out, or the funny things that happen. And so it's going to be just a really, really fun event.
And that's interesting because, you know, when you're first with someone, you know, it's not like I watched the soaps a lot with my wife. That's what we do. We watch the soaps. And I always laugh at the love scenes because they're always so scripted and everyone's just staring into each other's eyes and a fire's going in the background and the hair is just perfectly coiffed and, you know, the undergarments match. And, you know, it's just so funny. And I said, and I'm like, yo, do these people actually know what really goes on? I mean, that happens sometimes if you go away and, you know, or if it's a special occasion, but sometimes it is what it is. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So it's a 20-something type of couple, or
they're in their early 30s.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they're in their early 30s. I was hoping that I could get some actors in their 40s, but, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out like that according to the pool of people that submit. But I didn't want it to be, you know, late teens, early 20s. We have enough of those stories. Right. And that was another reason why I did it. Because in my pitch video, because I raised money for it, in my pitch video, I said, that Hollywood always makes sex look perfect. Like the makeup stays perfect and everything works out and it's always good.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's not?
Yeah.
This is not perfect. I want it to represent something that a lot of people has felt, because everyone has had a first time with at least one person if you've ever had sex.
Right.
And it's not always, like you said, I love the word coiffed. The hair is not always coiffed. Sometimes you sweat. Sometimes things happen. Some things work, some things don't work. Some things are effective, some things aren't. So how is that going to be when you've got this, again, tug of war? You've got this song and dance going on with this couple who've never been intimate with each other, and they're trying to double dutch their way through this.
Right.
Like, what are we? How are we going to work this out? So it's really just fun. It's lighthearted. We had an amazing time shooting it. It looks really, really good. And the actors did a phenomenal job. My team did an amazing job with the set and the shooting and the lighting. I am just so proud of what we've created.
That's awesome. So you said you pitched for the funding. So now what was that process like? How did you go about doing that?
So I actually raised money on Seed and Spark. So I did crowdfunding.
Okay.
Now, this is my second time doing crowdfunding. I've done it before. The first time was just a sad, pathetic failure, but that happens.
Yes.
I raised money for my web series pilot, and I was going for 5,000, raised 500, and my feelings were hurt, but that's okay because I still got it done. I used my own money to get my pilot done. So this time with Seed and Spark, and I'm not getting paid by them. So I'm saying this because I really enjoyed my experience with them. They gave me a mentor.
Oh, wow.
And this young lady helped me get through the process of like putting my pitch video together, working out the details of my page and different levels of contributions and, different words to use, who to contact, all of that. And it really made a difference in this particular one. So when I say pitch, I didn't pitch it to like producers because I produce my own stuff. Pitch meaning I created my pitch video for me to have my online fundraising campaign through Seed and Spark. And it was just a dynamic experience. Now, this one as well did not meet my budget, but the beautiful thing is I still was able to connect with those who made a commitment, and I raised money outside of the actual website, which was fine. So to me, it was successful. So even though I didn't go through Seed and Spark specifically and get the money through them, I didn't reach my 80% of my budget. But I was able to just connect with all of those individuals who wanted to contribute, and they gave the money directly to me. And I was able to pay my team because that was so important. I mean, we did this during COVID where everything was uncertain. And even in August, we were just still trying to get our footing as a society. And some people had gotten the stimulus and others hadn't. And some people were getting unemployment and others hadn't. And so it was just like, I don't want to ask people to do this for free.
Right.
Even though there are some people who would, I wanted to honor and respect their abilities and their skills and pay them for working on this project and let them know that I respect their talents, I respect their time. And of course, I was making sure everyone was safe as well, which is why everyone had to prove that they were COVID negative. Everyone had to take a test, including myself.
Okay.
And then everyone sent me their test and I sent my test to everyone. So everybody knew that I was COVID negative. And even though some people still wore masks on set, everybody was negative. We sanitized everything. We kept everything safe. And it was we kept everything clean as well. Like even down to the snacks were like individually wrapped.
Okay.
So there was no cross-pollinating of anything. And even in my bathroom on my first level, because we shot it at my house.
Okay.
I made sure that we had individual paper towels in the bathroom. So then they wash their hands, they can use paper towel to open the door and, just have the wastebasket right there for them. So it was just an amazing experience. And so, yeah, I used an external campaign, fundraising campaign to raise money for it. And it was a great experience. I will do that again.
Okay. So how long in advance did you actually plan the Seed and Spark campaign? How long in advance did you plan it?
I did it 45 days because I felt like I needed a little extra time. Some people do 30 days and I did 45. I really didn't make a lot of traction until the last 10 days, which they want you to get traction the first 10 days. Right. And it was just, I had to get out of my own way. I had to not be intimidated by it, which I was. You have anticipation about asking people for money. And, we don't always think that people will support us. And will I be judged? And is my project good enough? And do people believe that I can actually get it done? Why would they give me their money during a pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they?
Yeah.
And people did. But, I'm a giver. And so here in Charlotte, like I run a writers group, I volunteer and at different, things that go on. I read people's scripts and I give them advice and I talk to people's children. I talk to people's grandchildren. Like I've really invested a lot in people without asking for anything in return. And I do it because I like to, and I want to see people win. So when I presented that, I still had anticipation, but there were people who would message me and be like, you know what? You have been a major inspiration. I've seen your journey. I see what you do for others. I see that you're just a woman out here getting it done and you're not waiting for people. I want to invest in you and I want to see you win. And that was extremely helpful, very encouraging. But yeah, those last 10 days, I just threw everything out the window. And I said, you know what? I'm texting every person that's in my phone. I'm emailing every person I have in my email. I email folks. Now, I've been in Charlotte for 13 years. I email people I met 10 years ago that I hadn't seen them in 10 years. And you know what? They still gave.
Wow.
I was like, hey, you remember me? We worked at the such and such together.
Wow.
I hope you're doing well. Hey, this is what I'm doing now. I would love to have your support. And some of them wouldn't even respond. It would just boom, just pop up and be like, somebody made a contribution.
Wow. But you know what? That speaks to who you are as a person and your character. The fact that people, you contacted people out of the blue that you hadn't spoken with in a very long time, but they were like, you know what? Keema's all right. Keema's all right. So she hasn't called me in 5 years, but I'm still PayPal her that money. And you know what?
Yes.
Oftentimes people do want to see you win. If they see you doing positive things, you do have your haters. You do have your naysayers. You do have people that they're just lurking and trolling, just waiting to see you fail. But the vast majority of people really do want to see you win, especially if you're out there and you're doing things that are putting our people in a good light. So that's phenomenal.
No,
that's phenomenal. And the fact that you were able to
truly
pay
grateful.
people. Yeah. And the fact that you actually went, there is nothing better. And I never really got that until I became a filmmaker and then a festival owner. There's nothing better than paying your people. I never thought that I would have so much joy writing a check. But you know what it is? It's the fact that you can write the check. It's hard.
Yes.
Because it's hard as hell. Don't get me, the folks don't get it twisted. It's hard as hell writing them checks. But the fact that you can write a check, and I remember this young lady, she's a phenomenal makeup artist, and she worked on the last film that I shot 7 years ago. And I paid her. When it was over, everybody got their money. Here's a check. You can go cash it now. It will not bounce.
Yes.
And I saw her about a year later, and she said, you spoiled me. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She said, because I went on other film sets, and they're like, well, I got to go here, and I got to get the money together. And then could you just take a little bit of this? Could you take that? And my thing is, just like you said, if these are professionals and you've called them up to do a job, when the job is over, it's time to pay them.
Basically. And I feel the same way. And I do the exact same thing, because nowadays, you can pay Cash App, you can do PayPal. And I tell people you get your money within 24 hours. So you got to make sure your contract is signed. Make sure you're very clear on how you want me to pay you.
Right.
Because if it's not signed, I can't pay you. But yes, by the time people get home, some of them have already been paid. Because I remember I used to do freelance sports, and so I would do graphics for them. So like this weekend, with the Super Bowl, you watch a sporting event, and you got the things scrolling at the bottom, you've got the stats, you've got all the information. That was my job. And I remember some of those. Now, I didn't do it for the Super Bowl, which would have been great, but I did it for college sports.
Right.
And some of those places would take 6 months to pay me.
Wow.
6 months. And I knew how that felt, especially if I'm doing it because the money comes right on time. And I'm like, yes, I got this job. Now I can go pay this, or I can do this for my children, or I can pay this bill. And then they're talking about 6 months to pay me. And I don't want my people to feel that way. So as much as I can within my ability, I will have the money in the bank. And when the job is done and, everyone has turned in everything they need to turn in. So if it's like, the audio person, once I get all of the audio clips and I've checked everything, your money's there. Get all of my footage, your money's there. But like makeup artists and actors, boom, I send it to their agent. I mean, the agents will have that money before the actor gets home or the very next day. I will pay within 24 hours because for me, it's just a respect factor.
Yes.
And I want to have that reputation of Keema is a woman of her word.
Absolutely.
And Keema looks out for us because she is one of us and she understands how it feels. So I don't have to chase her for my money. I don't have to chase her to be an honorable person. She will actually be the person who will actually under promise and over deliver. That's the reputation that I want to have.
And that goes so far. That will take you so far so that if you ever run into an issue, because you are the type of person that never had an issue, if an issue would happen to arise, the people that you do, because you know what? The saying, your reputation precedes you, is so true. Because I tell people all the time, listen, please don't take my word for this. I don't want you to take my word for it. What I want you to do is Google me or go out and ask somebody else. Ask someone who's been on my set and ask someone who's worked for me on one of my productions. You don't need to take my word for this. Go talk to them and see what they say. And they will tell you to a person or a woman, oh, Floyd, when Floyd hand you a check, trust and believe. When you cash it, I had a guy, I mailed him a check that got lost in the mail, so I paid him his money. And then about a year later, I go in my bank account and it's overdrawn. He had cashed the check because it came. See, so I'm even paying people when I'm not supposed to, but I got my money back. But it just goes to what type of reputation do you want? Do you want to be known as someone who is fair, who is above board, who is without blemish or stain, and that if you work with them or for them, when they say this is what's going to happen, then that's exactly what happens?
Or do you want to be that bootleg person who uses popsicle sticks and bubble gum to put your production together? And then you treat people like popsicles and bubble gum and as if they're disposable.
Right.
No, I don't want to be that person. I want to be that woman who is a professional and people know, no, she's going to make sure that she takes care of her people.
Right.
The project that you're going to be a part of is going to be amazing. You're going to be proud of it. I mean, even when people volunteer their time and I don't have a budget and we still are doing something, I tell them, these are my guarantees. My guarantee is that I'm going to feed you well.
Absolutely.
Because
can you say that again? Can you say that again?
Oh, I feed them well.
Thank you.
Yes. And I don't do the cold pizza and the sandwiches. No. What I do is we're in the kitchen the night before. I'm peeling potatoes. We got some chicken going on or some fish. I've got some veggies because, now everyone has all these different kinds of diets. And so I'm like, hey, how about everything's going to be vegan except for the meat? So then that covers everybody. But it's going to be seasoned and it's going to be good. So I guarantee I'm going to feed you well. And then secondly, the project is going to look amazing. So if I don't pay you or if I can't pay you for this one, it's going to be so good. It's going to get you a check because you're going to put it on your reel and it's going to get you your next project. And I have not failed people yet. I don't intend to fail people, but I haven't failed them yet. So whether they get paid or not, the project is always going to be top notch. And the food is always going to be good.
You know what?
And the set is going to be run well. Those are my three things. And I'm going to run a very organized set.
Yeah. And you know what? That was me early on when I started shooting films. and I couldn't pay people. It just was what it was. But I always had the mindset, I can't pay you, but I'm gonna feed you. And my
Yes.
wife would be doing the lasagnas, and like you, I
Mm.
would be in the kitchen frying up chicken and making. My daughter would make the brownies, and my mother-in-law would make the potato salad. And it would be it would be so funny
I love
because
it.
the people would be on the set. Our people, black folk, I love them. They would be like, "You got any aluminum foil?"
Yes.
You're on set asking me for aluminum foil. Like, we are not at Thanksgiving dinner, but I do have some aluminum foil because I'm not taking any of this food home. So take it
Thank
with
you.
you. Take it with you.
I
But
do the exact
that's
same.
so funny.
Yes, I do the exact same thing.
That is so funny. So what do you have coming up next besides your premiere? What else is in the works for Keema?
So, in addition to that one, I have a thriller that I have written. So, I wrote that in 2016 as well.
Hmm.
Now, that one has more people than just two.
Okay.
But yeah, I've never written and directed a thriller. So, I'm very excited about this. I've had a lot of people read it. They absolutely love the concept. They love the twist at the end. They love trying to piece the story together because it's almost like a whodunit, trying to figure out who is this person and why is this going on
Hmm.
and all of that. So that will be next. And then after that one, I will resume the completion of my web series.
Okay.
So I'm going to rewrite it. I've already rewritten it, but I'm going to rewrite it again because I need to do some recasting. I'm going to change the name and just overhaul it and raise money for that as well and get that together. So it'll be the thriller next after this comedy. And I want to go right into completing my series because a lot of people like it. If you go to YouTube and you look up Repercussions, the show, you got to put in all three words.
Okay.
But Repercussions, the show, is my web series pilot. And every time people watch it, they're just like, oh my gosh, where's the rest? And why can't I see it? And it's because I haven't had the money to complete it. I got to pay people. I got to pay for locations
Hmm.
and food and hair and makeup and all that. But that is in the works. That is my goal to jump back into that in this particular year.
So that could be a good segue into, oh, where's the rest of it? Well, you know what? I happen to be doing some crowdfunding. And if you'd like to see another episode, would you consider see, because people don't understand that. People don't understand that it actually takes money
Yes.
to make a product. Because how I am with
Oh,
with the product being, your business, your film's a product. So it takes
yes.
money to produce a product. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see good content, sometimes you got to help a brother and you got to help a sister out with some coin. Now, and I'm not saying you got to donate $500, but a dollar. Let me tell you something. When I was raising money for my award show, because we've never had sponsors in 7 years, we've never had a corporate sponsor. So it's just blood, sweat,
Oh,
tears,
wow.
bubble gum, shoestrings, whatever you got
Yes.
floating around in your bathroom. We use it all. But people would say, well, I don't have a lot of money. Yo, send me a dollar because guess what? That's a dollar less that I need. I,
And a dollar more than you had.
you got that right. Keema, when I was filming, I have a big plastic jar in my room that I would just throw change in. And when things got tight, I would take that jar to the change machine, dump it, get about $40 to $50 worth of change. We just got craft services. So
Boom.
every bit of money counts. If it's a quarter, I'll take it. I'll take a penny.
Yes. And you know what is so interesting? People would say, all I have is $5. I don't have much, but it's all I can give. And they would be so apologetic and almost hurt for us
Hmm.
that they didn't have the 500 or 5,000.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, and sometimes I tell them, do you not understand that if 10 of you give $10, I have $100,
Hmm.
and it's $100 more than what I had.
That's right.
And on our films, $100 can go a long way. You can pay some people with that.
Yes, you can.
It can go towards advertising. It can go towards sound or one day's pay for a particular actor or whatever the case is. They just don't understand that, yes, we do need money, but also every penny, every dollar counts. And if you can give more, that's great. But if all you have is $5, I'm not going to turn it down and snub my
No,
nose and
no.
say, oh, all you have is $5. No, that would be ridiculous. That's ungrateful. And I
Mhm.
would not be ungrateful like that.
Because you know what? Their $5 is someone else's 500. So
Yes,
I get that. And, the fact that you're giving from your heart and you're sincere in your giving, look, I appreciate that you gave me the $5 because I would have the patrons in my award show. If you gave me $1, your name is up on the screen because you contributed to everything that you see going on right now. You helped with that. All I gave was $1, but that's $1 towards what I was, $1 toward the vision. So no money is all money is good money. And remember this,
all of it.
Barack Obama had $5 fundraisers.
And one twice.
You hear me? So five.
And one twice.
Look, don't sleep on the Lincolns. I will take. I will take your Lincolns. I have no shame when it comes to accepting $1 or 50 cents, whatever. Because at the end of the day, it all goes to the bottom line. And when I was younger, I would always wonder why I would see elderly people bend down in the street and pick up a penny. Why are they picking up a penny? Until I got older and started just throwing my loose pennies in a cup and seeing
Yes.
how them loose pennies added up. Because
Oh, they added up tremendously.
100 pennies make $1.
Hey,
100 pennies make $1.
absolutely. Yes, they do. And all of it goes towards making the project a success. All of it. I mean, with my latest fundraiser, there were some people who were just like, okay, so I'm gonna give you $20 now, and when I get paid again, I'm gonna give you $20 more. And they did.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, they made a commitment on the Seed and Spark campaign. They were like, okay, on that campaign, they committed one thing. And then when I reached out to them and was like, hey, I didn't make my goal, but you can still give directly to me. Some people gave $1 more,
Mm-hmm.
and that helped. Some people gave like double because they didn't have to pay the fee, from that particular site. So
Right.
they would give me the money that the fee would have taken out of their bank account.
There you go.
So I was like, oh, thank you for the $26 when you committed 25.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
And that adds up. It all adds up. So, hey. So, where can people find you?
I am on Facebook and Instagram primarily, and it is under my name. So you can do at Keema, Keema, Mingo, Mingo. It's exactly the same across the board. Or like you said, they can Google me.
And for those of us who are on Clubhouse, you're under Keema Mingo on Clubhouse as well.
Yes.
Okay.
On Clubhouse as well. Yes, definitely. You can follow me on Clubhouse as well. I love being in all kinds of rooms, just adding value. That's my whole game at this point. I want to be a person who adds value. So if I can encourage somebody, if I can alleviate a fear, if I can give some information, point somebody in the right direction, you'll find me on somebody's stage doing that.
Okay. And for those who may have missed it, your premiere, where can they get tickets for your premiere? Because we want everybody to support this phenomenal project. So where can they get tickets for your premiere?
Yes. So if you go to my Instagram page, click the link in my bio, it will take you to Eventbrite. And that will be a direct place where you can go and get the tickets. But in the event that you're not on Instagram, and you may not be on Facebook because it's on my Facebook page as well, go to Eventbrite and look up online private event first, because the name of the film is called First. And you will see it, and you'll see a picture of a young lady who's got a cloth on her face, and the guy looks confused.
Which happens sometimes after you do the do.
Oh
Or
my
attempt
gosh.
to, or think you did
is
something when you
hilarious.
didn't do nothing, and she's sitting there like, well, he thought he did something, but he ain't really do. But that's another podcast. that's not my podcast. I don't do that kind of podcast. But that's
Right.
but
Yes, online private party first.
online
So
private
up,
party first.
Mm-hmm.
Online private party first. Go to Eventbrite, buy a ticket, support independent filmmaking, support independent Black filmmaking, support independent Black female filmmakers. Keema, this was
Yes.
phenomenal. It took us a minute to get it together. Woo, boy, we was up here. Mics wasn't working, screens weren't working, but that wasn't nothing but the devil.
And let me tell you, exactly, because I'm gonna tell you, I charged my phone, and then 20 minutes in, it said 20%, and I was like,
Wow.
Lord Jesus, do not let this phone go out. And so I'm over here talking to you, and I'm reaching for my charger, and I'm plugged it in, and moved my headphones. I don't know what the sound sounds like. Hopefully, the sound sounds good, because with these iPhones now, you don't have a phone jack unless you have like the wireless.
Right.
So my charger and the phone jack are in the same. But this was so much fun. I'm glad I was able to charge my phone, and we were able to continue.
Yes.
But this was so good.
Yeah.
This was just an easy, beautiful conversation. I had so much fun, and I just appreciate the platform. I really
Thank
do.
you. And you know what? That's what we want this to be. This is so informal. It ain't funny. It's like two people just chilling and talking and chopping it up. So that's how we do on a
Yes.
conversation with Floyd Marshall and the phenomenal Keema Mingo. And for all of you who tuned in, I just want to thank you for spending an hour of your Friday with the both of us. We truly appreciate it. We humbly appreciate it. And we thank you. And on that note, folks, we're going to get out of here and continue our weekend. Keema, thank you so much. And I look forward to sharing the stage with you on Clubhouse. And if you're not on Clubhouse, get on Clubhouse, because Clubhouse is the bomb. Because you meet people like Keema on
And
Clubhouse.
and you meet people like Floyd
Yeah.
on
You
Clubhouse.
meet people like me. But Keema, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give my best to your family and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.